Okay, it's 5:30, so we'll get started. Welcome to the Costa Mesa Sanitary District workshop and the proposed wastewater rates for fiscal year 2022-23 and fiscal year 23-24. My name is Scott Carroll, the general manager for the district, and I will be your presenter for this evening's workshop. First, I want to thank you for joining us to learn more about the proposed rates. We at the district do not like proposed rate adjustments. We understand no one likes to pay more taxes, especially during these difficult times. The good news, however, is that we did keep wastewater rates stabilized for the last 5 consecutive years. But as you'll see in the following slides, our expenditures are now exceeding revenues and will continue doing so unless we make adjustments to our revenues. So let's get started. And now my slides don't work in technology. Excuse me here. I don't know why my slide's not working.
It was working.
Yes, it was. Should I close it and try it again?
Try using your arrow button on your keypad, on your keyboard set, and see if it does anything. Like your right arrow button.
I don't see it on here.
No, on your keyboard.
Yeah, my keyboard. That's what I'm doing. I'm hitting that on my keyboard. It's not doing that. This is right. Should I stop sharing and try it again?
Try it again. Yep.
All right. I don't know why it's doing that.
Let me see.
It was working just a little while ago. I apologize for this. There we go. Finally.
There it is.
I think we got it going. All right. So, all right. Sorry for that delay. Okay, so on the screen are the current wastewater rates. The last time the wastewater rates were adjusted was in 2017. The single family and multifamily rates are a flat annual rate per dwelling unit, while commercial and industrial customers are charged an annual rate based on the parcel size. And again, these are annual rates. And so the annual rate for the single family residential is $92.38 a year. And if you break that down monthly, it breaks down to $7.70 a month. So why are expenditures exceeding revenues? There are several reasons. First, we look at some key assumptions. And one of those assumptions is that we are projecting the number of residential wastewater counts will increase by nearly 200 counts per year. Included in that projections are accessory dwelling units, or ADU. We believe many single-family properties will take advantage of the passage of AB 68 that loosens local government's restrictions to building ADUs on single-family properties. And many believe this new law will help ease the housing shortage in California. Here at the district, we are already seeing the impact of AB 68 as a number of sewer permit applications, plan checks are steadily increasing for ADUs on single-family properties. Other causes for expenditures exceeding our revenues are here on the screen. Obviously, inflation, as we are all hearing, inflation is up, and when the district is not keeping up with inflation. Utility costs. We did install solar panels at our HQ at headquarters, which has significantly reduced our utility costs at that facility. But where we're seeing some increases is at our pump stations. We have 20 sewer pump stations that push wastewater because of topography. So we have to push it through, the topography of the area, and we're seeing increase in expenses in our pump stations because it takes a lot of energy to push that wastewater. Under equipment, the district is expanding its technology usage to improve efficiencies and better serve the public. Due to the continual threat of cyber attacks, increased IT security maintenance and monitoring is required. And we're also proposing to purchase some additional equipment. Well, I'll show you in a few slides later. The personnel costs, we are experiencing additional personnel costs, not only just cost of living and merit increases, but additional staffing. We have a new district engineer with us. As you may or may know, we had a long-term district engineer, Rob Hamers, passed away in 2020. And so the board gave direction and authorized us to hire an in-house district engineer, which that person came on board on February of last year. And then we're also proposing hiring 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers to help with our cleaning. Right now we have 2 cleaning crews that clean the entire system of 224 miles within an 18-month time period. By having a 3rd crew, we believe we can improve that frequency by cleaning the entire system within 12 months, within 1 year. But also, the enhanced cleaning frequency will reduce the likelihood of a sanitary sewer overflow, which is basically our main objective, is to have 0 sewer spills. And also to avoid any kind of regulatory fines or potential lawsuits from non-government organizations when you do have SSOs. Also, just like you're feeling at the fuel pumps with your personal costs, we feel it. We're feeling it as well with our fleet. Our fuel costs are up. We're experiencing higher construction prices, higher labor costs. Our construction costs are going up, and of course, insurance. And this is just not the district. I think it's just as very common with all other organizations. And it's not because we're experiencing a lot of claims due to property damages or employees injured. We are part of a pool liability program because we only have 20 employees, and joining a pool that includes 1,000 employees generally means you would get better rates. But again, if we had an individual plan, rather than the pool plan, our costs would be a lot higher than what we're experiencing right now. So these are some other expenditures that it's causing our expenses to increase our revenues. As I mentioned, the 2 wastewater maintenance workers. I also talked about our district engineers, so we want some support services for that department. We also want to install some flow meters in the system. This will engage on the level of rainwater that's entering into our system. Too much rainwater into the sewer system can cause a backup, a sewer spill. So we want to put some flow meters around the sewer system to try to find where the inflow is occurring, and then we can mitigate that issue. I already mentioned about the IT security maintenance. What I mentioned about the 2 wastewater maintenance workers, they will need a cleaning unit, a cleaning combo. We call it a combo cleaning unit. And those aren't cheap. They're running about $500,000 a piece, so we'd have to purchase one of those. Then we also get a pickup truck to support the cleaning unit, and then we're also proposing buying a new forklift. Our current forklift is no longer operational. It's 20 years old and it's at the end of its life, so we need a new forklift. The one thing I think that the district does very well is we are very proactive in replacing our infrastructure. We have always tried to replace the infrastructure before it fails. And this is another example of us being proactive in our CIP. We are proposing to spend nearly $12 million on capital improvement projects. The significant cost in that is with our force mains. Those are like pressurized pipes. And if you have a break in those force mains, you can have a geyser of wastewater coming, spewing out into the public. The good news is that we've already rehabilitated about half our force mains, and so now we want to continue doing that trend of rehabilitating and replacing our force mains. You might have seen that big spill up in Carson, about an 8 million gallon spill up in Carson recently. Those are the kind of things we're trying to avoid, and if we believe by continuing staying on top of our capital improvement projects, we can avoid those kind of spills. So this slide demonstrates our expenditures are exceeding revenues. This current fiscal year, 21-22, is the first year we had to dip into reserves to balance our wastewater budget. As you can see in the upcoming years, our expenditures are vastly exceeding revenues. And as you'll see on one of the upcoming slides, is that the district does not have enough reserve funds to continue using reserve money to balance our budget. So how much revenues do we need to generate? Well, this slide will show you how much revenue we need to generate assessment fees or assessment rates. And if you look at the O&M expense, the 4.9 million, that's our regular maintenance expenses. And then the other obligation, the was it the fourth line down? That's our capital expenditures. When you add those expenses, that's about $7.8 million. And then subtract that amount from our other operating revenues, and that's permit, inspections, and connection fees. And then non-operating revenues are investments and sales of assets. Then you subtract that along with net balance. Then we get a revenue requirement of $6.7 million. That's the amount of money we need to generate from assessment rates. And you can see in the preceding years how much money we need to generate from assessment rates. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the first time we had to use reserves to balance the budget. And as you see in this chart, if we continue to use reserves to balance the budget, then our reserves will be completely depleted within 5 years. And that's not a good way of operating your business. We have several different reserve accounts in our wastewater fund. The board adopted a policy of maintaining 25% of our O&M, our maintenance reserves for emergencies. We also have an asset replacement fund to replace vehicles, computers, and equipment. This comes in very handy when we have a $500,000 piece of equipment that needs replacement. And then we have our asset management fund, and that pays for our capital improvement projects. And the board set a policy of maintaining $5 million for capital emergencies. And that's where the other obligation expense from the previous slide comes in. When we use the asset management fund to pay for capital projects, we then appropriate money back into the asset management fund to maintain the $5 million balance. So in July of last year, the district solicited proposals from qualified firms to conduct a wastewater rate study and determine a fair and equitable rate to ensure the district will meet our revenue requirements. The district hired RDN, which is Robert D. Nyhouse, an economy consulting firm in Santa Barbara, to conduct the study. RDN used different assumptions and data when compared from the last wastewater rate study done in 2012. In RDN study, they are estimating the total flow to be much less than the estimation in 2012, as you can see on this slide. In the 2012, a different consultant estimated total wastewater flow in the district is approximately 11.1 million gallons per day. But RDN is projecting 8.6 million gallons per day, primarily due to water conservation that's been going on around the community for several years. RDN also revised the gallons per capita per day for multifamily units from 40 to 55 GPCD. The rationale was that people are people, no matter if you live in a single family home or an apartment, they're going to use the same amount of water. Finally, RDN did not want to implement many different methodologies or new approaches to the proposed rates. They used information and numbers from the district's sewer master plan, which was recently adopted by the board of directors. Next, RDN had to determine the household size based on housing unit. We want to know how many people are living in that household, and then RDN will reflect that ratio to the charges. So RDN obtained the American Community Services data that included owner and renter occupied number of housing, as well as population for the same area, and then calculated the household size for 2 zip codes. So when RDN isolated single family residential customers, they calculated the weighted average number of households to just under 3. When RDN did their calculations for multifamily customers, the weighted average number for household size is 2.53, and for trailers, it's 2.23. Now, in order to establish an accelerated dwelling unit charge, we wanted to know their household size. So RDN obtained data from the city of Newport Beach and learned the household size for ADUs in Newport Beach is 1.25. From that data, RDN was able to establish different household sizes and created different ratios. So that's one, sorry, mix the slide. There we go. That's the slide we're supposed to be doing. Now, if you look at the chart at the bottom of the screen, when we say there is one equivalent dwelling unit for a single family, the charge for multifamily residential customers needs to be scaled down to 85% of single family customers. For trailers, 76% of single family customers will apply to that class, and 43% of single family customers are applied to ADUs. This became RDN's foundation for the proposed rates. Now I'll talk about the growth projections for particular equivalent dwelling unit growth projections. Based on historical data and known development, RDN is projecting EDUs will increase from 500 to 760 per year. We know the One Metro West development is going to the voters later this year for approval consideration, but we're anticipating the development will get approved, and which will add additional 264 units per year. Finally, based on the number of applicants the district is receiving thus far, and doing some research in Newport Beach, RDN believes the district will have 113 new ADUs per year. RDN created this graph, which is quite interesting. It shows 3 different EDU growth projections. The green line is the projected historical growth of RDN using historical data and known development in the future, such as 1 Metro West and rapid growth with ADUs. The orange line is from the City of Costa Mesa's housing element based on state requirements that housing needs to be increased. And the yellow line is the City of Costa Mesa housing element, but that looks at growth. That's when growth has reached maximum capacity. And as you can see, the 3 theories have a vast difference of growth projections. Now here are 4 different population growth projections. The green line is a historical trend of population growth in Costa Mesa, and as you can see, the SCAG, or the Southern California Association of Governments, which is the orange line, is projecting very, very modest growth. The red line is RDN's projections, and their projections based on historical data and known growth, known development. The yellow line is the city's housing development that includes state requirements, and the light green line is the maximum projected growth. Again, vast differences in projected population growth. We believe using RDN's population growth projection as being the most financially responsible, because if we were going to use the city's population projections for the yellow or the light green lines, and those projections don't occur, if we don't hit those marks, then the district would experience a serious revenue deficit. So we believe it is financially responsible to use population growth based on historical and known growth. These are the 5 options the board considered. Option A was first presented to the board on November 9th. The board gave staff and RDN direction to look at other options, and those options are on the screen here, and was presented to the board on December 14th. And as you see, the pros and cons for each positions. Ultimately, the board did select option C. And if approved, the rates would go up for single-family homes from $92.38 a year to $101.22 a year. And again, that's an annual rate. And if you break down that rate on a monthly rate, that comes out to $8.43 a month. Then the preceding year in 23-24, the rate will increase again to $118.43 a year, or $9.87 a month. And then you'll see the next 3 years, the rates are stable. That's because the revenues needed for the next 5 years are all collected in the first 2 years. And so this option is found to be fiscally sound based on RDN's growth projections. It also allows us to budget and work on all the CIP projects that I mentioned are the $12 million. And then at the end of those 5 years, in 27-28, there's a mild rate increase for the following 5-year period for about 4%. So this is what the new rates and the current rates look like with other agencies. These agencies are in Orange County, and these agencies charge their residents the wastewater rates like we do. They don't include treatment costs. That is charged separately by the Orange County Sanitation District. The orange bar is what we currently pay at $770. Then the red bar is, if the rates are approved, would go to $843 in July of this year, and then next year it go to $987. And as you see, those 2 rates are still well below the average of all these agencies, which is about $13.08. Now, have other agencies increased their wastewater rates? And the answer is yes. So in the last 5 years, from 2016-17 to 21-22, these agencies have increased their wastewater rates. And as you see, like Newport Beach, Placentia, and Palma have increased significantly. And that's because they basically kicked the can down the road for so many years, and now they're paying for it. Other agencies like the Yorba Linda Water District and Fountain Valley, they're like in the middle of their rate increase. So like maybe in their 3rd of the 5-year rate increase. So their wastewater rates are going to increase again in 22, 23, and possibly 23, 24. So what's next? Well, by now you should have received your Prop 218 notice in the mail, which is required by state law. We're also required to have a public hearing, which is scheduled for February 28th at 4:30 p.m. And that's going to be located at our headquarters at 290 Palomino Avenue. Property owners may file a written protest against the proposed rates. Written protest must be mailed to the district clerk at the above address at the time of the hearing. As I mentioned, it must be mailed or delivered by 4:30 p.m. on February 28th, all those written protests. The board of directors will hear and consider oral testimony and written materials submitted regarding the proposed rate increase at the hearing. The electronic protests, such as emails, texts, social media messages, those will not qualify as written protests under state requirements, and we will not accept telephone calls as a protest. If written protests against the proposed wastewater rates are presented by a majority of affected parcel owners, the district cannot approve the proposed changes in the rates. Now, for more information, you can find all this information on our website. We did dedicate a page on our website for the sewer rate study. Our website, it's at cmsdca.gov. You just click on the sewer page, and then there's a link for the sewer rate study. On this page, you will find the final report from RDN, the written report. You'll find staff reports, PowerPoint presentations, and also a video recording of RDN's presentations to the board of directors. So it's all there. And that is it. That concludes my presentations. I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has any. Nolani, are there anyone has any questions?
I do not see any hands raised, sir.
Okay, 1 second. I'll give a few more seconds. If there's no questions, I guess we can conclude this meeting. Okay.
Vice President Schaefer might.
Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Presentation is available to the public on YouTube. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Because I noticed the only participants were staff and Arlene, Director Schaefer, and I. So again, just as people ask us as board members, we can direct them to the YouTube channel for the presentation.
Yes, and we'll put this on the website too, right? No,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Plus, there was a lot of good information in what was sent out to them. You know, the sanitary district sent out information, so they have that for the wastewater rate adjustments. That's good too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's it then. I guess we'll conclude our meeting. So thank you everyone for joining us, and have a good evening.
Good report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.